Good day, Dr. Roulette Cordevilla. I am Alison Villarreal, the first interviewer of our group. And before anything else, I would like to give an emphasis on the task that we are about to do right at this moment. So the task was for us to look for an educational leader or any leader in a certain organization and to interview him about his leadership practices. And so our prospect was, we thought about Dr. Justin Bulado as our prospect for the interview just because he would definitely qualify as our as someone you can interview with regarding his leadership practices. So before we proceed with our interview, maybe hear a few words from Dr. Justin Bulado.
Hi, hello. My name is Dr. Justin Bulado. I am the Department Chairperson of the Social Science Department here in Norso Main Campus 1. And I have been in this, I have been designated as such for quite a few years already, from starting way back 2015 until 2018, and then took a study leave. And when I returned, I resumed the position from 2021 until present. So, yes, that's it.
So you heard it right, Dr. Roulette, and that sums up why Dr. Bulado will qualify as our prospect for today's interview. And so without further ado, we will now begin with the 10 questions which we prepared, starting off with what I have here. So, Dr. Bulado, can you please share with us your strategies that you employ in order for you to achieve proficiency in every task?
Okay, just the background. The Social Science Department is perhaps, I would believe, the biggest department in the College of Arts and Sciences. We compose of around 40 faculty members in the department, and it's quite difficult to really handle the 40 faculty members. But not all of them are regular. Less than 10 are regular faculty, while the others are part-timers. So the strategy really in being efficient and effective in dealing with them is one, and this is just my strategy and it would vary from one person to another. One is I try my best not to micromanage my faculty members, and I try to trust them as much as I can in dealing with their students, and it is through this trust that mutually they would also give it back to me, and this trust and respect to my faculty members are seen not just by them but by other people in other faculty members from other departments. So one way to do it, in my opinion, is really just to lessen the micromanaging and try to trust them as much as they can. Because I know them, I have been with them for how many years, and I know their capabilities, I know what they're capable of, and I know their accomplishments also. So yeah, I think number one thing I learned from really serving as a department chairperson is try as much as you can to trust your faculty. Although there are times when the faculty members will really sometimes they try to uban buluyagon ra gyud, uban that you cannot really deal with, especially when it comes to absences in classes, etc. So it doesn't mean that I say I trust them, doesn't mean to say that I do not reprimand them also. So whenever I hear information, especially from students who come to me and saying, sir, this faculty member is not holding classes, then oftentimes what I do is I call them and talk to them in a civil manner, and that's what I learned also from my years of service as a department chairperson, is deal with things in a civil way. I don't usually raise my voice, I don't usually embarrass them in front of their colleagues. So yeah, try to be civil as much as you can. trust them, and try to refrain from micromanaging, because if you micromanage, usually what happens is they do not feel that they are being trusted, you know, and it will turn out bad based on experience.
Alright, sir. So that's quite a lot. For the next question, sir, what steps do you take in order for you to master and improve yourself?
Improve myself.
Yes, sir.
In
As a
terms-
leader.
As a leader, well, leadership is you cannot learn leadership in a class. You know, it takes experience to do it. You cannot. Well, there are some, you know, seminars on leadership, conferences on leadership, but you don't learn it overnight. It takes years to refine that craft, so to speak. So the question was, what are the ways?
Yes, sir.
What are some of my ways to improve leadership? Well, just the same way. Practice the three things that I have told you a while ago. And you know, I learn as I go through the days of serving as department chair. So there are days wherein you will be faced with many challenges and adversities, but as they say, that is part of the experience, and I learned from the mistakes also of, you know, I also commit mistakes as a leader, and I learned from those mistakes, and I do not let it, you know, affect me as a leader also. So another thing I would like to add is, try as much as you can not to be affected by external matters, because there are things that I learned in my years as department chairperson. You cannot really please everyone, so you try as much as you can to not control the things that you cannot control. So if there are people who do not really like you, then you cannot control them, so you do not try to please everyone. So that's one thing I learned. At the outset, I tried to please everybody, but later on, I realized that you cannot please everyone. People will always talk, you know, behind your back, and people will always say things that are not good. So the best thing to deal with that is really not to mind them, because you cannot control how they think. So yeah, that's one thing I learned in the years serving as the department chairperson of this very big department. So yeah.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
sir.
Very good afternoon, sir. My
Hello.
name is Linjay Valdemar.
Yes.
And I will just continue
Yes.
the third question. Sir, as a leader, how do you acknowledge and cater the voices or needs of your subordinates?
How do I acknowledge or cater the voices of my subordinates? Well, I always try to hear their voices, so to speak. I always try to ask from them what are their needs, what are the problems that they are facing. From time to time, as a leader, you really have to try to learn, you know, empathy. You have to try to get to know your subordinates, get to know your faculty members, so that you will know what they need. Because when you talk about leadership, it's not just about work. You know, you need to somehow you need to gain their respect, you need to gain their trust also, and you need to empathize with them. So what I usually do is, when there are decisions, important decisions to be made, or things to be discussed, I have to discuss it with my faculty members and then ask them, you know, what they think about it. You know? So there are, almost every month we have department meetings. If not every month, probably once in 2 months we have department meetings. So I can bring out some problems, some issues that need to be resolved. And if they have any issues also, say with other faculty members, etc. So I always make it the point that they are comfortable when they, you know, communicate with me. I do not have that persona that they are afraid to talk to me or whatnot. I always try my best to cater to their needs as much as they can, you know. Try to make them comfortable, that they can just talk to me if they have any problems, if they have any issues, or if they have any concerns really with regard to their classes or anything school related. So that's what I try to do.
Fourth question, as a leader, what are your strategies in sharing information to keep your subordinates updated?
Meetings. That's it. We have a group chat also. We have a GC among the faculty members. So you have to make use of technology nowadays. No? Even the oldies are part of that group chat. And they in Facebook. No? So they check it from time to time. So one strategy is really for announcements. We have a group chat for that. So I post there announcements. If there are any issues that need to be resolved immediately, so I post there right away in the group chat. I tell them, "Oy, what is this problem that I heard?" etc. And maybe if it doesn't really, if it needs a private meeting, then I call on the faculty member and I meet with them privately here in the office and I talk to them about their concerns. If there are students who have concerns with regard to the faculty member, so the students approach me, so what I do is I, communicate or contact the faculty member, and then we will just have a talk here in the office. I want to hear his or her side also. So I just, it's not necessary to just hear the side of the students. I need to hear the side of the faculty, also the teachers. So I talk to them here in the office and hear their side. And once I get both sides, then I try to, find a way to resolve the issue. And if it doesn't get resolved, then I bring it up to the higher ups, and which is my direct superior, the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. But if it can be dealt with within the department, then well and good. So communication is the key, really, and contacting them via messenger online or calling them by their phone numbers and asking them, if they are willing to talk here in the office. That's really the key. You have to communicate with with your faculty members as much as you can.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
I am Crystal Ancharo, and proceeding to the number 5 question. As a leader, how do you conduct yourself as a good example to your followers or members?
Now, how do I conduct myself as a good example? Well, I have to lead by example, as they say. I have to hold classes also, because the common thing about having faculty members as your subordinates is they will have to look up to you, if you are doing your part also as an instructor or as a professor, and as an associate professor, I have to do my role and responsibility, not only in instruction, but I also have to do my role in research. And I think I have been doing that at present, focusing myself in my research work. So you have to lead by example, and you have to really show to your faculty members that you care for them. Empathy is needed, and you need to create sort of like a rapport to them, and you need to build that friendship, that trust, that professionalism, with your faculty members, so that in return they will respect you as a leader. And as a leader also, I respect my subordinates too, because they are co-faculty members. I don't look at them really as subordinates even. I look at them as fellow faculty members. It's just that I was just given a designation to lead the department. So, aside from leading by example, you have to show respect also to your co-faculty, as I call them. I don't use the term subordinates really. It's just I call them as my co-faculty. And I show to them that I am doing my part, and when I am doing my part, more often than not, that would show show them that they also have to do their part as faculty members of the social science department. So yeah, leading by example is one of the things that I learned along the way.
Next question. As a leader, what is your strategy in giving tasks that is clearly understood, monitored, and accomplished?
Yeah, in giving tasks to my faculty members, I just assign it to them during the meeting. Okay, this will be your task, this will be your task, and then proper monitoring for it. Well, as I've said earlier, I trust most of my faculty members, so from time to time, I just check on them, but not all the time, not every day, or I do not even go and check whether they are having classes in the classrooms, because that will be a hassle for me also. I have around 40 faculty members, so I'll be going up and down to check whether they are having classes. So, I trust them that they are doing their part. Anyway, I will be hearing feedbacks from students from Ampod if they are not doing their part. And if they are not doing their part, then that will be the time that I will call on them and, really give them a briefing that, what they're doing is not right. So, monitoring, I don't really monitor them every day, but when I give them a task, I try my best to find a way to ask them whether they are, they're doing their task as given to them. And from my experience, I have not really had any problem with my faculty members with regard to the task, because they are very diligent and they have done their task that I assigned to them, especially when it comes to enrollment, accreditation, and other things that I have assigned to them. So I don't really have any problem with my faculty members, at least most of them. There are some still who need reprimanding and need to be reminded more often than not, but most of my faculty members, I really admire that they have been doing their responsibilities as instructors for the years that I have been department chairperson. So I guess the leadership that I showed to them is effective, trying to give them leeway to do what they can also, and not being overly controlling, and I think that has its pros, and that's one of the pros, and they have been doing great. But of course, one of the cons is that some of them will become very lax, and that's the time when I'll try to give them a talking also, and remind them of their responsibilities. You can't always have it perfectly. That's the thing about leading a group, because you can't always have it perfectly the right way. There are some problems along the way, and you have to understand that there will always be problems. And I think that's one thing that helped me get through my job as a department chair. Acceptance lang yun. You have to accept that there will always be problems along the way. You have to find a way through that. Find a way through that problem. So yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
I am Sweetheart Estrella, and this is the 7th question. So, as a leader, in what way do you commit and train your people to collaborate as a team?
Well, to collaborate as a team, you need to have a group dynamic that works, so to speak. You need to be able to work with them. You need to be able to have that chemistry, so to speak. And you need to be able to earn their trust. And that's one thing that I really try to do. And I'm still trying to do that with the new faculty members. So one thing that I'm trying to do really is to let them feel that, that trust that I'm giving to them. And in giving that, Kaloy sa Diyos, so far I have not dealt with any serious or major problem as I work along with them or collaborate with them. So I have not really, although there are problems from time to time, but nothing major really that would affect the relationship that I have with my faculty members. So it starts with building up that trust. It starts with showing respect to them, not necessarily as subordinates, but as co-faculty members. And when you show that to them, and when you start to build that rapport with your faculty members, then I think that's the time when they would really, work and work without really kontra gusto ba, so to speak, and work really for the betterment of the department and the faculty, the whole social science department. You just need to really build that relationship with them. It's important to build that relationship. And that's one thing I learned from my parents also, because my mother used to work here in Norso. She just recently retired. And she is also an administrator. Before, she used to be the HR, head of the HR. She used to be the vice president also. So I learned from her also those things. And from my father also, who used to be a head of the assessor's office in Dumaguete. So I learned from them a thing or two on dealing with people, and that's how you really develop your leadership style. It doesn't, again, as I've said earlier, it's not an overnight thing. You really have to practice that, refine that craft as you go through the years of serving as a leader. So yeah, that's how I would do it.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello.
So, here's my question. So, how do you ensure that your decisions rather are both effective and time-bound?
How do I ensure that my decisions are effective and time-bound? Decisions in a general sense?
As a leader.
As a leader? Well, I ensure that it's effective if, my faculty members are, look at it as something that is just. First thing I do is to really understand or to know whether it is the decision that I'm making is a just decision. Is it just? Is it the right thing to do? So it takes time for me to ponder on it first, to think about it, and I have to gain perspective also. That's why I have to talk with the faculty concerned. That's why I have to talk with the students. And when I make the decision, I have to really. It takes time for me to figure out whether it's the just or the right decision. So time is needed. You just don't make a decision right away. And one thing I learned is you don't make a decision, especially if you are very emotional. So at the height of your emotions, you don't make good decisions, especially if you're at the height of your emotions. So sometimes I get angry, sometimes at the height of my emotions. That's why during that time I don't make a decision. I try to find myself first. I try to take a breather, and not talk with anyone. Because if I talk with someone and I'm at the height of my emotions, there might be a chance that I will say something bad. And when you say that, some of them would say that it hurts. Words hurt more than actions, and I cannot take it back if I say those things. So if I say those hurtful words, I cannot take it back. So I try my best to just keep distance first, keep my cool, and then eventually, when I decide on it, I try my best to decide on it with a level head, so to speak. I try my best to decide on it, and then without heightened emotions, refraining from heightened emotions. So time-bound. If it's really needed right away to make a decision, then I would usually call on a meeting. And after calling on a meeting, and once we're able to decide, if it's not necessary to call on a meeting, then I can always also make the decision right away, especially if it's not a difficult case. So yeah, many things that I've learned as a leader is that the one thing that I've learned really is not to make any decision, especially when you're at the height of your emotions. And I think that's one thing that you can also do as students, even as student leaders. Try not to be swayed by your emotions, affected by your emotions. Try to detach as much as you can, and once you are already, you're not at the height of your emotions, then make the decisions there. Because if you make the decisions when you're at the height of your emotions, trust me, you will regret it. And you will probably say hurtful things that you will regret later on. So that's one thing I learned. Not only in leadership, but in life in general. You can apply that in life in general, in your relationships with other people. So that's my answer.
Question about the 8th principle that decision must sound and not wrong.
Thank you. Hello.
From Values Education. So next question is, as a leader, how do you create an atmosphere of responsibility in your group?
I think I answered this. I'll just elaborate. How do you create an atmosphere of responsibility? It first starts with you, really. You show to your co-faculty that you are being a responsible leader also, and somehow they will just follow suit. Aside from leading by example, you have to show them that you trust them also. Because if you always check on them every day, you micromanage, that would lead to them having that feeling that you do not trust them. So I'm against micromanaging. That's why I do not do that as often as I can. But when there are problematic teachers, then that's the time when I really try to not necessarily micromanage, but try to check on them more often than not. So to have that atmosphere of responsibility, you have to show also that you are being a responsible leader. And you have to show to them also that you trust them, and you have to show them also that you respect them, not necessarily as subordinates, but as co-faculty members. And once they realize that, of course, based on experience, I have seen that most of my faculty members are quite responsible in their own right. So I'm happy that I have not had any problems with in terms of being responsible. Although there are a few bad apples, but they're just quite a few lang din. And they can also be, we can remedy that by just simply reminding them that, of their responsibility. So it takes just, it takes a leader to just remind them from time to time, not all the time, and just show them that we trust them also and respect them as co-faculty members. And so far, that's what I've done. So far, I think it has worked. I have not encountered any form of irresponsibility, although again, naig gamay, but then majority of my faculty members have been quite responsible in their tasks. And I am proud to say that in my years as the department chairperson, I have not really encountered majority of my faculty members being very responsible in their responsibilities and duties.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I am Darius and Saskia, and here's the last
Last
question.
question. Okay.
Yes. As a leader, how do you show responsibilities and accountability to your own actions?
Yeah, how do you show responsibility? Well, I do my part also as a department chairperson. I check on them. I do my part also as a professor in history, But when you talk about accountability, well, if I commit a mistake, I have to admit that I have committed a mistake. Nobody is perfect. So I am not the type of person who doesn't admit that they have committed or I have committed any mistake or not, So as much as possible, kung lantaw na ako, I made something, I made a mistake. So what I do is really apologize, to someone who I wronged, and admit the mistake and move on from that. It's important for a leader to be accountable of his or her actions. If you are not accountable, if you don't show accountability for your actions, then you are not a good leader. And I have met a lot of people who, do not accept that they have committed any mistakes. And those people are, for me, in my opinion, are not the best of people, because human as we are, we always, there comes a time that we will definitely commit a mistake, intentionally or unintentionally. We will definitely have mistakes in our lives, bad decisions, bad decision making. I, as a leader, have made bad decisions before, but I try my best to remedy that and try my best to apologize if I have hurt someone, within the department, and even students. I have also made bad decisions, and I have also probably, said hurtful things to students. But I try my best to hold myself accountable for that. So accountability is a very important characteristic of, a leader, of being a good leader. Because if you don't hold yourself accountable and you just find reasons or scapegoats for your mistakes, then I don't think you will be respected as a leader. And I have met a lot of people who, who have acted as such, and people do not respect them. So I tell myself, I know it's hard as human beings to accept your mistakes, but I tell myself, if you have committed a mistake in hindsight, then try your best to really accept it and hold yourself accountable for that mistake. So as a leader, you have to admit your mistakes. You have to say sorry, you have to apologize if you have hurt someone. And it is through that your co-faculty and even students will really look at you in a different light, in a positive light, because human as we are, we commit mistakes, we make mistakes, and if you hold yourself accountable to that, then people will see you differently, and people will respect you, more as a leader and as a person in general.